We only have one more type of learning to go over, so this will be a short video. We're going to talk about observational learning. And observational learning is when we learn by watching others and then imitating, or modeling is what we call it, what they do and say. So you learn by modeling what people around you do. So the people who we copy are models. They are the people performing the imitated behavior. And the person who did the most research with this was someone named Bandura. He was the person who made this famous by doing what is called the Bobo doll experiment. And this was sort of the structure. He did several versions of this. I'll talk about a few of the variations, but the general structure. He originally decided to do this because he saw lots of violence on television, and he thought that that violence on television was making children more violent. They were seeing the violence on TV and then imitating it and being violent. And so he said, hey, we need less violence on TV so the kids don't copy it. And the TV execs were like, no, violence is cathartic, which means it's a release. If kids see violence on TV, it's how they can release their aggressive drive. They will be less violent themselves. So violence on TV is a good thing. And they're like, prove us wrong. So he did his Bobo doll study. In the original version, he had kids, there's several stages. First stage, he had kids watch a stranger, an adult, beat up a Bobo doll. And Bobo is, it looks like this. And Bobo is the doll who has, the sand in the bottom, and you can punch it, it pops back up. So the adults would hit it, kick it, throw it up in the air and drop it, sit on it and hit it, say mean things to it. After that, the kids would be brought to another room with all these toys. And some were really good toys and some were like not good toys. And they were told, see all these really good toys? You don't get those. Those toys aren't for you. You just get the bad toys. The point of this was to get them frustrated because we know that if you're frustrated, it makes you more aggressive. So he kind of wanted to prime them. So all the kids got told you don't get these toys. And then they got brought to a third room where there were a bunch of toys. And for this third step, they were told you get to play with whatever you want. And there were some aggressive toys like guns. There were some non-aggressive toys like a kitchen set. And there was a Bobo doll. What they found was that if the kids saw an adult beat up Bobo in the first stage, then in that third stage, they beat up Bobo. They were hitting him, they were kicking him, they were sitting on him and hitting him, they were saying mean things, they were finding new ways to beat up Bobo, hitting him with a gun. In the control group, who didn't get the first stage, who only got stage 2 and 3, so they didn't see an adult beat Bobo, but they got frustrated and then put in the third room, they were not more aggressive. They were not beating up Bobo. And so Bandura said, see, look, the kids saw someone be aggressive. They saw them beat Bobo. And so when they were angry, they copied what they saw. They were beating Bobo as well. And then the TV execs were like, but they understand that TV's different. If they're seeing it on a TV screen, then they're not going to copy it. So Bandura did a version where they saw a video of an adult beating Bobo in the first stage. And then they had stage 2 and 3. And in stage 3, what did they do? They were beating up Bobo. And then the TV people said, but like cartoons. They know cartoons aren't real. If they're seeing a mouse beat up a cat, they're not going to try to be more aggressive from that. And so Bandura did a version where he had people dressed up as cats and mice and beating up Bobo. And what did they do? The kids beat up Bobo. Kids copy what they see. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you a video from his original study so you can kind of see these kids working, and then I'll talk about what LeFrancois says and the types of models that you can have. So first, a video of Bandura and his Bobo doll study.
The segment you're about to see is taken from an early experiment on learning of aggressive styles of behavior through modeling. Children watched a filmed adult perform novel aggressive acts toward a inflated doll, and the physical aggression was accompanied by novel hostile remarks. We later measured how much of this modeled aggression the children had learned just by watching. Now, the measurement of learning of aggression uses simulated targets rather than live ones. For example, to test how well bombardiers have learned bombing strategies, you would use simulated targets rather than require them to bomb San Francisco or New York. The model pummeled the doll with a mallet, flung it in the air, kicked it repeatedly, threw it down and beat it. It was once widely believed that seeing others vent aggression would drain the viewer's aggressive drive. As you can see, exposure to aggressive modeling is hardly cathartic. Exposure to aggressive modeling increased attraction to guns, even though it was never modeled. Guns had less appeal to children who had no exposure to the aggressive modeling. The children also picked up the novel hostile language. The room contained varied play materials, and children could choose to play aggressively or non-aggressively. The children devised new ways of hitting the doll. Now, the object of interest was the novel aggressive acts, not punching the doll. And children in the control group who had no exposure to the aggressive modeling never exhibited the novel forms of aggression. And here's a creative embellishment. A doll becomes a weapon of assault.
So LeFrancois says that you need 3 things for observational learning to occur. The 3 things that you need are you have to learn a new response. It has to be something you didn't know already. These kids had not seen an adult beat up Bobo before. You have to choose whether or not to imitate the model. And a big part of what determines whether you will choose that you want to imitate or not is whether that model was rewarded or punished for what they did. If you see a model punished, you're less likely to want to do that behavior because you don't want the punishment. And then number 3, you have to learn a general rule that you can apply to other situations. So for example, these kids learned when you're mad and there's a Bobo doll present, you beat up Bobo. So those are the 3 things that you have to have. For the 3 types of models, you can have either a live model, and a live model is someone who is in there in person to demonstrate for you. So it's demonstrated in person. You can have a verbal model, and a verbal model is someone who describes or explains what to do. They talk you through it, but they don't actually do it themselves. And then you can have a symbolic model, and a symbolic model is, you watch, it's TV, it's books, you read a manual, you watch a YouTube video on how to do it. So 3 types of models: live, verbal, or symbolic. And then finally, very last thing to go over, Bandura says that you have to have 4 things. There should be, hold on, let me fix this. So you need 4 things in order for observational learning to occur, according to Bandura, not LeFrancois. You need attention. You have to notice it happened. Be focused on the model. You have to have retention. You have to remember it happened. You have to have reproduction. You have to be able to repeat what you saw. If it's too complex for you, you're not going to do it. And then you have to have motivation, which means that you have to be motivated. You have to want to copy the behavior. And so this can be, again, if you see the person rewarded or if you see them punished. It's basically vicarious reinforcement or vicarious conditioning. So you do the behavior because you saw someone else get reinforced, and you think if you do it, you'll get the reinforcement too. That's vicarious reinforcement. Vicarious punishment, if you see someone be punished, you're less likely to do it because you think you're going to get the punishment as well. So according to Bandura, these are the 4 things for observational learning to successfully occur. And that is it for this video.